But to remind you, Putin critic and Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin has been listed as a passenger on a jet that has been shot down this afternoon north of Moscow. But first, unbelievably, my friends, it's not even a year since Liz Truss was appointed PM, really. She tanked the economy, but maintained that her course of action was correct, saying this in her goodbye speech.
We simply cannot afford to be a low-growth country where the government takes up an increasing share of our national wealth and where there are huge divides between different parts of our country. It means delivering growth that will lead to more job security, higher wages, and greater opportunities for our children and grandchildren.
Now, of course, Jeremy Interesting Hunt was brought in to steady the ship, taking the UK, my friends, to the highest rate of taxation in 70 years. 70 years. And now this country has £2.58 trillion worth of debt. Yeah, that's trillion with a T. That is 98.5% of this country's entire output. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Hunt insisted, strangely, that his plan was working.
Any rise in interest rates is a worry for families with mortgages, for businesses with loans. But underneath that decision is a forecast that says that this time next year, inflation will be 2.8% and we will have avoided recession. And what the Bank of England governor is saying is that we have a plan that is bringing down inflation solidly, robustly and consistently. So the plan is working, but what we have to do as a government is make sure we stick to that plan. We don't veer around like a shopping trolley. We stick to that plan so that families and businesses can start to feel the benefits of that plan actually working.
Interesting, the Chancellor, of course, under pressure from all sides, with former ministers, think tanks and many in the media calling for tax breaks to save the UK economy. The question tonight is, will his plan work and how long will it realistically take? Joining me to discuss this is the CEO of Fair Money, Dr. Roger Gewolb. Rog, delighted to have you on again. Thank you. You're not a fan, are you, of Jeremy Hunt per se, but you can see the importance or understanding behind his decisions. For people watching this tonight who are struggling, they just see the highest taxation in 70 years. They see no light at the end of the tunnel, Rog.
He's immensely unpopular for taking us to such a high tax level, but I've got to say that whilst, as you say, I don't agree with him about a lot of things, I think he's right to resist the calls of right-wing conservative Tories to cut taxes. I mean, it's irresistible to grab some election votes, and it's very nice that he's got this slack that has built up. What's happened, Jeremy, is that the Office of Budget Responsibility over-forecasted, as they often do, and we're actually 11 billion to the good. And secondly, Jeremy's stealth taxes of some months ago have brought a lot more people into the net and collected an awful lot more money. So things are looking markedly better, but it's all kind of tenuous. And if he were to have good intentions and bad preparations, like Apocalypse Now and Kamikaze, he might very well take us off a cliff as well. So I think he is right to resist for right now, saying we're going to have tax cuts. He may find that he can do some right before an election, but we've got, as you just said, too much debt. And what you didn't mention is on top of that debt, the interest rates are crushing, Jeremy. I mean, the Bank of England used to make money off QE, quantitative easing, printing money in Earth Talk. They've lost 30 billion in the last 11 months. They had to be bailed out by the Treasury. They're losing so much money now. So to rack up more interest by cutting tax revenues is not a smart thing right now. Very dangerous.
I mean, I get that, and I think it's quite interesting. People would say his was an impossible task after Truss and Kwarteng had tanked the economy. Many people, though, on the right saying that Truss, in terms of long-term belief and thought, was probably right. But you said something that's quite interesting, Roger. You said, you know, he's not going to just do it to grab election votes. But the cynics amongst us would go, no, he's going to wait 16 months and then he's going to make tax cuts when the situation's better because he wants to try and win the next election. I always try and make this show, if I'm honest, about the people in the United Kingdom outside Westminster, outside Kensington, who are struggling, the North and the South. And they look at a government who are doing nothing to help them. And they, that middle core, if you like, the middle core, they will decide the next election. And I think it's I would like to be seeing a government giving something back, or at least explaining to people in a bit more detail how it's going to get easier. Because at the moment, to the majority of people, Roger, in this country, it's one big bloody struggle.
Well, this is my vocation. This is my life. I'm a people's champion. I agree with every word you said. You're absolutely right. This government is so out of touch there in the Westminster bubble with the average Brit and their life. And this is just more of the same thing. And especially the interest rate rises, which, I'm sorry, Mr. Bailey, I mean, they have done nothing whatsoever to curb inflation.
And I think you're right. The Bank of England needs to stand up and be counted as well. And I'm not quite sure about his support of the Bank of England. They haven't come out of this well, have they?
Wrong. He and Rishi are wrong at this stage. How many football managers do you send back in for a 15th game with the same playbook that lost the first 14?
Absolutely right. Roger, and always a pleasure. Dr. Roger Gewolb, thank you very much indeed. He puts it in layman's terms, what we like. Now, joining me to discuss this